Oh, well, hello, young scholars. Good evening. Welcome to the May household. I am Justin May. I am Mrs. May's husband. And we're sitting here tonight in my lounge coat and with my ascot on, drinking hot tea because we have a very special thing to read to you tonight. It's originally a poem by Clement C. Moore called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Now, some people know it by its original name, A Visit from St. Nicholas, or an account of a visit from St. Nicholas. It's become so famous that some people say it's the most famous verse ever written by an American author. Well, Clement C. Moore's poem became so famous it became songs, and people have made movies about it. But most often these days, that poem's made into storybooks. Now, we've got several of them, like this one around our house. This one was illustrated by Jan Brett and was made in 1998. But the one we're going to read to you tonight is very special in our house. It was read to our children when they were small and young, just like you. Now, this particular storybook is very special to us. This storybook was printed in 1949. Now, originally a book just like this one was the one that Mrs. May's dad used to read to them every Christmas Eve when she was growing up. Now, she found that original storybook in her mom's home, but a flood ruined that book. So, on one Christmas day, she received this as a gift from me. And we've been reading it to our children ever since. Now, Clement C. Moore said about this poem, he said he never intended for it to be printed. But a good friend of his snuck it into a newspaper in Troy, New York, back in 1823. Years later, when he printed poems, he never wanted this poem to be printed because he said the reason for that poem was for the amusement of his own children. In fact, he wrote it when he was out shopping for Christmas time on a sleigh. But he put it in his book of poems because his children, when they grew older, begged him to put this poem in it. Well, if he wanted his own children to enjoy it, we're going to read it for you tonight so you can enjoy it too. So, I want you to do a couple of things for me. If you know what the last two words of this poem, this book, "'Twas a Night Before Christmas," if you know what it is, don't say it yet. Don't shout it out loud, but when we get to the end of the book, I'm going to pause on the last page, and I want you, if you know it, to shout those last two words out loud with me. But if you don't know, I'm going to give you a count of three, and we'll all say that together. And along the way, we're even going to learn a little bit of Dutch and German. So it's going to be very interesting to read these famous words by Clement C. Moore, "The Night Before Christmas." Let's read them together. "The Night Before Christmas," Clement C. Moore, and illustrated by Leonard Weisgard. "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. We've got a kitten, and we've got a puppy, and we've even got a mouse, all quietly and comfortably asleep in the house. The children were all nestled snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced through their heads, and there they are, sound asleep." Now, young students, do you realize how important it is to go to bed on Christmas Eve? When mom and dad ask you to go to bed, you need to do it because, well, they don't want any fussy and grumpy kids the next day to miss out on all the Christmas activities. So when it's time to go to bed on Christmas Eve, it's important you get yourself all comfortable and bedded down to go to sleep. What about Mom and Dad? Well, on Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. Do you know what sash is, students? You should take a look and see if you can look it up. Have Mom and Dad Google, what's sash? The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to the objects below. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment, well, he must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away, oh! Now Clement Seymour had some friends that were German and Dutch. Do you know what Donner means in Dutch? Do you know what Blitz or Bliksem means in Dutch or German? It means thunder and lightning. What do you think Santa Claus would name his reindeer Thunder and Lightning and Dasher and Dancer and Comet and Cupid? Why would he do that? Do you know why? I sure think those reindeer were really fast and energetic reindeer. Don't you think so, students? I bet they were. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop those coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys. And St. Nicholas, too. Yeah, I think they were fast and energetic. Up to the very top of the house they went, as quick as a wink. So what happens next? Let's see what happens. They're on top of the house. Now what happens? And then in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. And there he is. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. He was a little dirty. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. That's a big smile on Santa's face. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses. His nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. And maybe just a little bit of those ashes and soot in his beard left over. What do you think, students? If I came down a chimney, I think I'd be a little dirty too. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself, a wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. And he filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying a finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. We're getting close, students. We're getting close to those two words. Do you know what those last two words are? I'll let you think about it. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team, gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight. Now we're up to the last page. Here we are. Now every Christmas Eve when we would finish this book in the May household, I would pause and I would let my kids finish the book with those last two words. Do you know what they are? Here we go. Are you ready? Happy Christmas to all, and to all do you know what those words are? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Good night. So, from the May family to yours, we wish you a wonderful holiday, and we wish you happy reading.
Good night.